Yo, 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 yo! What's up, all you burners, stoners, and potheads out there? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there? Mrs Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are you?
I'm all right.
You need to get high?
I do.
We are going to get high.
I really do.
You know what we're going to get high with today?
What?
A little cereal milk is the name of this strain. Why don't you go ahead and light that 8 decades bowl up, steamroller up,
All right.
and I'll talk a little bit about cereal milk. It's a 50-50 indica sativa hybrid. Cereal milk is a rare, evenly balanced hybrid created through crossing the potent Snowman XY life strains. Looking for the super unique flavor and long-lasting high that's perfect for a lazy weekend day? You found it with cereal milk. This is a lovely lady, packs a sweet and creamy sugary taste with hints of fruits and berries throughout. Let us know, Mrs. Weedman. Almost a leftover bowl of cereal. You're going 2 times? I love it. Almost like a leftover bowl of cereal. The aroma is very similar, although with light herbal touch to it too. The cereal milk high is just as delightful as the flavor, with the effects that, ooh, I smell that. It smells nice. The onset of the high filling your entire mind with a sense of pure happiness and lifted bliss. As your mind reaches new heights, you'll feel an influx of creative energy and social ability, boosting your mental clarity and focus. With these effects, its high is around 18 to 23% on average THC level. Cereal milk is often chosen to treat those suffering from conditions such as chronic stress, nausea, or appetite loss, which Mrs. Weedman is going to make some cookies after the show, and I'm excited. Chronic fatigue, depression, and chronic pain. The bud has tapered, fat, heart-shaped olive green nugs with minty undertones, dark orange hairs, and coating of frosty white crystal trichomes. The effects: calming, creative, energizing, focus, relaxing, sociable, uplifting. The relief symptoms are chronic pain, depression, fatigue, nausea, and stress. Some of the flavors are berry, creamy, fruity, sugary, and sweet. And the aromas are berry, fruity, herbal, spicy, and sweet. Mrs. Weedman, you took the first hit.
Yeah, I didn't get a lot of flavors.
No?
No, I don't know why.
It's a clean bowl, too.
Yeah, it's
Very
super clean.
I just took a new one.
I wondered about that. Did you see me look at it when I picked that up? Stealing my inventory. I got a thief in my store.
I got lazy. I didn't want to clean it today, so I just took a new.
I'm gonna have to make like a little check sheet for Mr. Weedman's expenses, so that you could borrow inventory.
I
for
borrowed
the show.
it, all right.
Well,
That's
you're
for
not giving
sure.
it back.
Oh, no way. Oh, it's so nice to get high.
Tell me if you taste it. I didn't get a lot of flavors.
No, it is someone's home grow, so I
Yeah.
mean, it's not bad. It's not. I don't really taste everything they said about it, but
Yeah.
we'll
That's
see
all
what
right.
the high is.
We'll see.
Yeah, we're watching a new show, The
We are.
Bear,
The
on
Bear.
Hulu. It is about a beef Italian beef joint, right?
Yeah.
And in the middle of
A
Cicero.
Chicago beef joint.
Is it Cicero or
Well, I-
Chicago?
They talk about Cicero a lot,
Right.
But they talk about Chicago
Right.
a lot.
I
But
think
a
it's
lot
like
of
on the
us in
border.
everybody in the outskirts of Chicago, like the greater Chicagoland area, we all say we're from Chicago.
Right.
So I don't know, but it's
It's a cool
Chicago
show.
based.
It's actually Lip from Shameless is the main actor on it. It's actually a really good show. I like it. It's cool. It's about Italian.
fun.
We all eat Italian beef here, in this house, so it's kind of fun watching what they're going through, running a really
Little
really
beef shop.
Yeah, a little beef shop that wasn't very taken care of. All the problems that go with it. Also, who's the chef that does that show that we really really like? He's on it. Maddie Matheson.
Yeah, Maddie Matheson.
Oh
He's
my
from
God.
Canada.
Yeah,
He's
is
a nut.
Great
He's
on this
so
show.
funny. He has like little cameos. He just
Yeah.
shows up at the restaurant
Yeah,
randomly.
fixing things.
Yeah, fixing things.
He's so good.
Like, where did he just come from? Nobody ever explains why he's there. Just all of a sudden he shows
Just
up.
shows up.
Yeah.
Just like
It's
it's a good show. It's fun. We're on like episode 5 or 6, so I mean it's pretty good. So I like it. It's a good show. I recommend it if you're high and you want to watch a good show. It's pretty good. We have some news.
Yeah, we do.
You got an email,
I did.
and tell them what it's about.
From 8 Decades, I got an email from the firm that represents High Times Magazine. The PR firm for High Times reached out and asked us to be part of the Cannabis People's Choice Awards.
Yeah, the Illinois Cannabis Cup.
So I don't want to tell everybody because I want to make sure we get our kit. But anyone this year, it is the People's Choice. So anyone can be a judge. Basically, you pick up your kit on sometime around the 24th of July. And then you've got 60 days to consume what's in it and do your judging. And then everything closes. And I think like my months are way off. October 2nd, I believe, is when all of the everything is announced, all the winners. So anyone can be a judge, but we were specifically asked by someone from High Times, and I think that's pretty cool.
I think it's cool.
And it looks like they offered that maybe someone from the Cannabis Cup could come talk on the show with us about the Cannabis Cup. So we may have them on as a guest in the near future here. So
my stoner burner pothead ass was thinking that we would smoke a strain on every episode from what I picked an indica
there's
flower.
Different categories.
Yeah, I picked the indica flower one. I think I get 27 grams of flower, so I'll be smoking a lot. And we're gonna and you chose pre-rolls.
I did, and I think it's
12
the kit. So when you become a judge, you have to go to a dispensary. You pick up your kit. They're limited release, so you got to get there and get one. And you could do indica, sativa, hybrid, pre-rolls, edibles, vapes, all these different categories. There's CBD categories as well. So you answer these questions online on the registration. You pick what it is that you want to judge. And then when the dispensaries release it, you've got to find a dispensary that has the kit that you're looking for. I think like 200 kits go to each dispensary or something like that.
Yeah.
So you got to get there probably within a couple days of them being released. But go on the High Times Cannabis Cup website and you could probably find it out for Illinois anyway.
Yeah, we'll smoke a strain on each of the show that we do, and we'll talk about it too, just to help us with our judging too. So it'll be fun. I
think I get like 10 or 12 pre-rolls. Yeah, and then you got 28 grams.
27 grams of flour.
Yeah, we have to pay for it, but
but we got invited.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun. We've never done it before.
It'll be a good experience, something to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll keep you all in the loop. But I was just happy that they reached out to us.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was neat. So ready to start the show, Mrs. Weedman?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it.
This is a Time magazine written article, and it moved me, and I've saved it for a little bit because I was reading it a bunch of times, and I was kind of unsure if I really wanted to read it on the show because it is long, but it's very good. So it's called The Economics of Legal Weed Don't Work. 10 years ago, Colorado became the first state in the U.S. to fully legalize recreational use of cannabis. Many other states followed, and several others already had sufficiently lax medical cannabis legislation that now an estimated 40% of American adults can legally buy cannabis. Musicians, actors, sports stars have quickly jumped into the market with their own brands of weed, hoping to lure people into who want to get high with a high-end product. I actually have another article I'll be talking about all the stars with their brands here coming up. Some of these, as Willie Nelson, Snoop Dogg, Seth Rogen, are unsurprising. Others are less likely weedpreneurs, including Bella Thorne, Jaleel White, and the actor who played Steve Urkel in Family Matters, and former NBA star Al Harrington. The newly legal industry was predicted to be a multi-billion-dollar business and big tax revenue win for the states. But it hasn't been that simple, according to the authors of a new book, Can Legal Weed Win? The Blunt Realities of Cannabis Economics. The two economists from the University of California, Davis Department of Agriculture and Resources Economics, found that the future of legal cannabis businesses hampered by regulation, competition, and standard agricultural issues is a bit hazy, just like I am right now. Hazy. Time spoke to the authors of Daniel Sumner, who was also former Assistant Secretary of Economics at the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and Robin Goldstein, who is also the author of the controversial best-selling guide to the wine trails. So this is an interview, so I'll be going back and forth, okay? Not quite half of American adults can now buy weed legally. How's business going? Daniel Sumner. It's been tough. There's still a whole lot of illegal weed out there available to the same group of consumers, and most of them choose the illegal, let's call it the traditional product, because it's half the price. Also, they have been consuming the product for the last 20 to 40 years. They've been dealing with their plug who knows a guy, and they're reasonably happy with the product. Why is legal weed more expensive? Sumner. To get a license to start with, in most states, you hire a consultant to help you through the regulation maze, and then you wait. So that's lawyer fees, just put it that way, or a consultant. Big money. In Vermont, which legalized recreational cannabis in 2018, for example, you've hired your consultants, you've gotten your venue for the retail store, and you've purchased a greenhouse or rented one as your cannabis growing facility, and you're still waiting. It's been 4 years. Nobody has gotten an adult use weed license in Vermont. That's a lot of money you spent and waiting. Rob Goldstein. In many states, the agencies are understaffed and the process is very lengthy, time-consuming, and difficult for people to get through. So it can take years and years, and in the meantime, they have investors, they're burning cash, and a lot of people have lost their money just by waiting. Hey, we're seeing that happen here in Illinois. Sumner, at the farm level, the illegal producers really are, for the most part, off the grid. They're not paying attention to labor regulations or pesticide regulations or other things that are the same for every farmer, not just for cannabis. That is the cost disadvantage for a legal guy. And that's one where almost everybody would say we really ought to enforce that. I wish we could figure out a way to enforce it on illegal guys, but we haven't figured out yet. Have we not seen an influx of customers who wanted to try weed but were turned off by the criminal aspect? Goldstein, yes, but it's a small percentage. In many of these states that have legalized, the penalties weren't the harsh already for the buyer. People who wanted to try it could try it. Evidence from around the world, from places like the Netherlands that have had forms of legalization well before the U.S., suggests that you don't see a big increase in the total amount of weed smoking just because you legalized it. Aha. So, what's happened to the medical cannabis industry as a result of legalization? Everybody's leaving it behind because they're making so much money. Oh, sorry, on legal, on recreational pot. So that was just my opinion. Sorry. Goldstein. In some states, there was legal medical weed for many years, and it was more or less unregulated. And now, with these new rules, some of those people are breaking the laws. We don't think it was intention of the voters generally to make more weed criminals. In states where weed is legalized, there's not really that much reason for people to continue getting their medical recommendations. I get my medical card. I will always continue to get my medical card. Once anyone can just walk into a dispensary and buy it, then what's the reason to pay a doctor to get the recommendations? A lot, especially in this state, Illinois. You don't pay taxes like you pay on rec, and you get to grow 5 plants. And there's more. There have been some states where the medical system has survived, including Colorado, Massachusetts, because they've got a much bigger tax exemption for the medical patients. Next question. A lot of people think that weed is a growth industry in states like Colorado, riding this new product to economic prosperity. Is this not true? Sumner, there are companies that have done well, and there are lots of companies that have not done well at all. There are growers that are doing okay, and there are lots of farms that are doing okay at all, that are not doing okay at all. Now, that's true for other farms too. I've been looking at farm industries for a very long time, and that's the nature of agriculture. But cannabis is in the state of flux. It's been a gold rush, and a few people have found some gold, and a lot of people haven't. What I like to say is this company that made a lot of money in California's gold rush was Levi's. It was Levi's. It was making jeans for the guys digging for gold, and so there are some companies that have done okay in supplying the cannabis business with things that needs to be modernizes. What about the investors? You mentioned in your book the former Republican congressman legalization opponents, Tom DeShole and John Boehner, are involved in the industry. Is there any money being made on the VC or investor front? Sumner, those two are among the consultants, for example, the lobbyists and the like, who may be doing okay. Goldstein, the ones that are probably making safest money are probably the ones who are taking flat fees. You cannot make money taking big consulting fees, but folks who took their compensation in the form of shares in these big cannabis holding companies, these stocks have not done well on the whole. It has been an up and down roller coaster ride with cannabis stocks over the years. One of the hopes of legalization movement was that people who had been most injured by criminalization would have a head start in taking advantage of the market. Has that happened? Sumner, a lot of people who have been in the business for a long time and knew how to grow the crop thought that it would be enough to allow them to really boom when it was made legal. What they didn't know is how to run a legal business, and that was a real eye-opener for them. Take somebody who's been a small-time criminal, you say, go to your banker and get a loan for $500,000 so that you can build a modern greenhouse. Come and fill out all the forms and keep very clear records, because that's a computerized tracking and trace system that you have to implement. Ooh. Goldstein, yeah, and go to your city council or county board of supervisors and get the local approval. This is just a skill set that these people didn't have. Access to capital is part of it, and access to political capital is another part of it. In many cases, they didn't have either. No matter how many well-meaning, good faith equity programs there are, having the resources to get into the business is way more than just no longer being officially considered a criminal. That was a good one. Is there not a weed billionaire somewhere? Sumner, probably not, but there certainly are weed millionaires. The people that are trying to build it is an ongoing profit-making business. The honest ones say we've got years to go here, and one of them going to be become Amazon. Probably not, but is one of them generating a regular few $100 million a year from a dozen stores scattered around? Probably yes. Another question. Can we tell yet if the problems are those or scaling efficiency that are common startups and small businesses, or problems where the regulation and way the market is set up are never going to be solved? Goldstein, one of the problems with scaling is that it's all state by state at the moment. So you have to basically craft a strategy within a state based on the state's regulations and taxation system, and so forth. Expanding in multiple states is less like scaling up a business nationally and more like starting a whole new business in every state. If I were advising a cannabis company, I'd say try to compete on price. Everyone wants to create its own fancy weed brand backed by a celebrity. That's a really tough market to compete in. You mentioned Vermont, which is a principle legalized, but the practice has not legal weed dealers. Are there some states that are doing it better? Goldstein, legal weed producers and sellers in Washington and Colorado have a better chance of capturing market share than they do in other states. And it's not just because of lower taxes and regulations. It's also because those two states have been open for recreational adult use the longest. Over time, companies get more efficient in regulations, and regulators and legislators adjust things over time, learning from their early mistakes. This was a good question here. What industry is weed most like? Alcohol? ? Sumner, there are parallels, but there are really big differences as well, partially because weed has been illegal longer than it has been legal, and alcohol was legal almost forever and then became illegal for a little while. There are other big differences. You could put $1 million worth of weed in your station wagon and still have room for the kids. Moving illegal weed around is so easy compared to manufacturing and moving illegal alcohol. How do you balance lowering the barriers to entry with the concern that an increase in the uptake of weed is not necessarily a public good? Sumner, the evidence of legalization has caused increased overall consumption in society is not all conclusive. But when we see the prices of cannabis coming down for the average consumer, it's a legitimate question to ask. Is that a good thing for society? There are questions when it comes to something that having psychological effects. What can you do about it through regulation and government action? It's not clear that you can do to be effective, given you've given the parallel industry that's illegal. That's a real challenge, and we acknowledge it. So I thought that was a really good article. But one last question here they asked. Wouldn't one way to resolve this be not to make legal weed less regulated, but make illegal weed more so? Sumner, society has signaled over and over again that we feel uncomfortable throwing millions of young black men and young brown men in jail for what seem to be relatively minor offenses in terms of violence. However, I will tell you that there are individual growers or retailers who say, what the hell? I'm complying with all the regulations, and then there's a kid standing on the corner in front of my store selling weed at half the price. Why don't you arrest him? So there are retailers and farmers who are very frustrated, but even most of them don't say, hey, bust my brother-in-law. Just like, great article, great read. I mean, I've read it a bunch of times, and these two guys, their opinion was really good in their books that they wrote. It's very hard for me to say because I want legalization to happen so bad, but in tune to that legalization, this article made sense because it's just a money grab for a lot of these people, and even the big stars too. I mean, there's some of them that supported weed, like Cypress Hill. They've been supporting weed for like ever on stage. There's
some legit people that are behind it,
100%.
But there's a lot of people that are just in it for the money, and that's
like Ryan Sandberg from the
right.
Cubs. That dude didn't know nothing about weed. Right. It was a money grab for him. I'll invest so I make triple the amount of money I invest. Mm-hmm. That kind of shit annoys me. So, great article though, great read. So, Esports. I know you don't know a ton about esports, but we have a son and all of his buddies that love esports, that play computer games, and cannabis and esports is a big community. So tell us about it. Another good article by High Times, by the way.
Mm-hmm. This is cannabis in the esports community. So electronic sports is esports, right? Mm-hmm. All of your like FIFA soccer and name some.
Yeah,
not soccer. Okay, probably not that. What is Call of Duty considered an esport?
Yeah, that would be an esport. There's teams on that. There's also Valorant. There's there's Halo esports. There's so many. There's so many different things. Leagues of Legend that Paul used to play.
So it's not necessarily athletic sports. It's computer
strategy
sporting.
Sports. Yeah, it's computer gaming.
Right. Okay. So the esports community, we're all going to learn something here. Well, maybe not all, but I think I'm going to learn something.
You will.
Optic Hex, so this is a screen name, takes us into the heart of esports and challenges corporations such as Facebook, Google, and TikTok to end the digital war on cannabis. Whoop. Thank you, Optic. My name is Optic Hex, and I had the honor of joining the cannabis industry by way of professional esports and building brands on the internet. I know you will be absolutely shocked to learn that there has always been a vibrant cannabis culture behind the scenes of gaming and esports. So my goal when joining the cannabis industry was to take the lessons I learned building Optic Gaming and introduce them to the plant I love and the traditional cannabis culture I feel naturally connected to. Esports and cannabis cultures were both born on the edge of society, and we're still battling stigmas despite growing into multi-billion-dollar global industries. While gamers never had to face the war on drugs, many of us took huge personal risks and made extreme sacrifices to help build esports into what it is today. My wife and family were dangerously supportive when I left my corporate job in early 2009 to focus on becoming a full-time YouTube content creator. And after a year of telling them that this was going to work out, my first check was a hilarious 16 cents from monetizing Call of Duty montage videos. I may not have lived in a tent on a hill in Humboldt County, but you better believe that back in June of 2013, when we launched the first Optic House, my wife and I were called crazy when we told our family that we would be moving to her parents' basement to allow the players to move into our current home and make one of the first YouTube content houses a reality. Despite the risks and labels, cannabis OGs know the important lesson that the die-hard esports community learned through our commitment. It's what we did and stood for when everyone thought we were weirdos, before all the corporate investors rushed in. That will forever resonate in our respective cultures. For esports, 6050 Russell Drive showed the world that Optic Gaming, operating out of a cul-de-sac in Hoffman Estates, Illinois, could have a larger social media presence than all of Chicago's historic sporting franchises, aside from the great Chicago Bulls. That revelation drove many billionaire owners from traditional sports to quickly buying esports teams. We were one of the lucky teams that was paired up with incredible investors, but many other investors came into our industry with much respect for the culture that made Optic and esports as popular as companies as growing and selling good weed. So, I came to cannabis knowing what it's like to create something from a place of passion, and I have seen firsthand the interest of big money trying to get their piece of something new. In 2017, an ownership group made me an offer I couldn't refuse, and I was happy to sell Optic in hopes of expediting our growth as an elite professional esport franchise. But then things happened. People happened, and business happened, and I ultimately decided to buy back Optic in 2020. The journey that led me to buying back Optic taught me a very important lesson relevant to the cannabis industry today. When you put your heart and soul into something, the authentic relationship that you develop with supporters, building that brand, can never truly be bought or sold. As I've gotten the opportunity to meet creators from across the cannabis industry, the biggest challenge I see facing the traditional culture today isn't the federal regulatory status or even high taxes. It's the digital suppression happening on social, video, and streaming platforms that is preventing cannabis creators from organically growing like they should. I've experienced firsthand that a dedicated online audience is the most powerful asset you can have. And if cannabis growers, breeders, and extractors could distribute their content like Optic Gaming, then I know customers and fans would have the greatest impact on the future of this industry, as opposed to politicians and corporate investors. To Facebook, Google, Amazon, TikTok, I am incredibly grateful for the opportunities your platforms have given me and the people around me, but it's time to end the digital war on cannabis.
Yeah, can I say something about TikTok?
Well, wait. Yeah, go
They
ahead.
banned me,
Yeah, they did.
and I had to start a new account.
Because of cannabis.
Because of Cannabis. Weedman 420 Chronicles 2 is our new account. Damn you, TikTok. Damn you to hell. I was just having some fun with you guys, and you ruined it.
On other platforms, you can consume and talk about cannabis, but you can't pay for an advertisement that includes it. So, sure, the federal government can't get its act together to provide you rules for managing cannabis regulations today. But conflict with the federal government hasn't stopped you before. And besides, no one will notice if you just start treating cannabis like alcohol on your platforms. And the cannabis community promises they won't tell the feds. Ha. To OG cannabis operators, esports has taught me that people will support the creators who authentically share their lives, process, and passion. Being the best at what you do isn't good enough anymore. You have to share content. If you have good content and you build a community, there is no amount of money or marketing campaign from a big corporation that can compete with a relationship with your fans. Make no mistake, it's an absolute grind to build an audience. I shot, edited, and uploaded a vlog every single day for 2 years and still continue to do so regularly. The ones who do the hard work to build their online audiences can thrive as long as the internet exists. That's what we're all going for, right? Creating brands that are around forever. To cannabis lovers and fans, make it your mission to support your favorite cannabis creators and brands online and go the extra mile to share their content and push the algorithms against the suppression and shadowing ban.
Yes, love it.
We have the ability to make sure traditional cannabis culture flourishes digitally. But we all need to work together to ensure the best people are surfaced, and that takes effort by the global digital cannabis community. I want to give a special shout out to the cannabis content creators out there that have overcome all the odds and built massive communities around their video content. Creators like Eric Kahn, Dope as Yola, and Goblin have battled the algorithms with authentic content, and it's incredible to think about how their audiences and influence will grow when the digital war on cannabis ends. Let's end the madness. I also want to acknowledge a number of cannabis creators who have been digitally incarcerated or deplatformed and were forced to rebuild their audiences in the process.
Weedman 420 Chronicles.
Including Weedman 420, Adam Ill, Strain Central, and Silence Tippy. As a cannabis and creator community, we need to do everything we can to help overcome the injustices that have been passed out to good people entertaining audiences about a plant they love. At Pine Park, their YouTube channel will always be a home for creators from across the industry that deserve more digital exposure or a jumpstart to build their audience. Never hesitate to reach out to their team about ways to work together to ensure that traditional cannabis culture and creators survive and thrive online.
Some bullshit. Not that article.
Right. No,
bullshit
just the,
about us being banned on social media
so
platforms and to get banned on
You could-
TikTok.
yeah.
And after what I actually really see on a lot of these platforms, and they let that all go, come on.
You can
Come on,
you
come
can
on.
see crime. You could see
Jeez, man. You can see
naked
tushy,
bodies.
You can see whatever.
whatever.
Get the hell
But you
out
can't
of
see
here.
weed.
And
Watch
I can't do a nice little
Don't
1
see
minute
weed.
blip about cannabis and smoke a bowl
So stupid.
and mention weed and get banned. Man, I had a lot of good people follow me on TikTok too. We were just starting to have some fun. People sending me stuff, me following people, watching what they were doing. Man, TikTok, I had to start another account. So hopefully everybody there will follow us again, man. But everybody that's getting banned and shadow banned and blocked and ratted on. There's rats too in the cannabis industry. I can't believe I never would have seen that, but there's rats in the cannabis industry. People ratting other cannabis users out too. That's fucked up, man. Snitches,
Rat-a-tat-tat.
snitches end up in ditches or with
Wow.
stitches.
That's pretty intense, Mr. Weedman. I
Rats.
think you should smoke some more.
I will in a minute after this article. We were talking about celebrities. So are celebrity brands truly successful? Well, a lot of celebrity brands had just started. So this is my opinion before I read the article. A lot of celebrity brands have just started. It takes time, money, energy to go out there and build the brand. They partner up with other cultivators and other distributors and dispos to help build their brand. So let's read this. In select studies, celebrity endorsements have produced an average of 4% sales increase. At this time, it appears that it isn't the case in the U.S. cannabis market. To date, most celebrity cannabis brands, whether endorsed or owned, leave some questioning their market impact. The unease appears warranted when considering how various celebrities have failed to live up to this critical metrics, top line by sales, market saturation, and product quality. Yes, and I also say their pricing, because their name is on there, is ridiculous. As reported, Kate Robinson, One Weed Please newsletter, one celebrity brand, Seth Rogen's houseplant, cracked California's top 100 sellers of 2021. Good for him. Be Real, his Insane is like 3.6 million. Jay-Z Monogram, 700,000, and did not make the list. Marley Natural sold about 4.3 million. So data compiled about 11 hybrid and medical-only markets provided BDSA highlighted 2 cannabis brands making headway in Q1 of 2022. Willie's Reserve, pretty good. And Can, which we drink, and that's got like a bunch of people behind that. So, considering more than financial reports, various respondents, including Roy Brigham, BDSA co-founder and CEO, noted that sales and business metrics are just some qualitative and quantitative points worth assessing. While brand awareness and brand loyalty are emerging among the cannabis consumer base, celebrity brand status is less important to consumers. I love it. The product attributes such as a price point, cannabinoid content, and flavor. The celebrity's connection with cannabis and its consumers is essential. If buyers sense inauthenticity, the sales may be hard to come by. Ryan Sandberg. Simply placing a name on a product to attract the person's fan base may generate some initial excitement, but if the connections doesn't make sense, the excitement will not last, said Erica Salgado, CMO of PharmaCann. The celebrity brands include the Almond Brothers chocolate chunk strain sold in Illinois. I have not seen it yet and I haven't tried it yet. Hopefully someone gets me just a nug. I don't want to buy. I just want to try it. Salgado said consumers' connections to the Almond Brothers were a prime reason for the partnership. Fans can reminisce about the favorite concert moment or listen to the favorite music, the band, while they enjoyed the product, she said. Quality and authenticity are key. Successful celebrity brands don't necessarily need backing from household celebrities. Some of the top names to emerge could come from cannabis community celebrities. The perfect example may be Cookies, a brand that combines celebrity, cannabis legacy, highly rated products, and worldviews that align with consumer base. Yeah, Burner's doing a phenomenal job. Headed up by hip-hop artist and entrepreneur Burner, Cookies owns retail stores across 14 states and Israel. In 2020, Cookie stores were one of the many brands looted. Rather than a call for criminal charges on those involved, Burner earned public praise by highlighting the importance of social justice. So, yeah, he's all over the market right now. I've been watching him for a hot minute now, and he's just crushing it, just touring like crazy, promoting his brand, hiring people, telling people, if you want to get hired, bring me your resume. I'll read it right in front of you. So that's good shit. Mike Tyson's got his brand, too, and he's been doing a tour. Wiz Khalifa, we've talked about him. Wiz is a longtime cannabis fan. He's got a good little brand, Khalifa Kush. So here's the thing.
Mike Tyson's gummies are ear, like an ear that's like a chunk is missing.
He just did a tour here in Illinois. So, I mean, I know a lot of celebrities want to get in the cannabis game or are in the cannabis game. You support them because you like them as a celebrity, but is their brand and is their product quality? Is it good? Does it get you baked? Does you like it? Does it taste right? Does it grown correctly? That's the other line underneath it all. And they're partnering with big name companies that have big warehouses and big ways to do things. But I don't know. I mean, you're going to see some brands fall out. You're going to see some brands just die. You know, they're not all going to make it because not everyone's going to support them. Because once they try their weed and doesn't like it, they're going to go down the tubes. So, I mean, I don't know. So, first time you got high.
Yeah. We talked about our first times last week, right?
Did you get high the first time?
I don't know. I don't remember my first time. We talked about like a first memorable time last week. Yeah.
And you were high, your first memorable experience. Yes. My first time I got high, I was 13 with my cousin. I've talked about it, and she got me baked.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. So talk about first time smoking weed.
First time smoking weed, but you didn't get high. Here's what might have happened. Bad products, inability to smoke correctly, subtle highs, or lack of reactions from the brain are significant reasons why a first-time smoker may be unable to get high. No two people can have the same experience for the first time smoking weed. The science is that cannabis affects each user differently. For some, they go overboard. Some get hungry, some trip a little or fall asleep, while a few feel nothing. These reactions are entirely normal. Not everyone is opportune to get the munchies on their first try. Several factors determine how you react to your first cannabis experience, including strain, your mood at the moment, and the dosage or amount of cannabis ingested. Days, hours, or even minutes before the first time anyone smokes cannabis, they anticipate the famous coughing fits, the euphoria, and the endless possibilities that could occur as soon as the smoke hits their lungs. However, only a few people imagine they'd feel no effect at all, zero buzz. You can't be too sure about the impacts of your first blunt until you smoke it. You could be lucky to immediately experience the highs, joy, boosted energy, and creativity. Or you might, conversely, feel anxious, sad, paranoid, or confused. My first time smoking weed was preceded by a restless evening. I was so anxious to view the world in a new light. I was more than ready. Only for me, that afternoon, the only reaction I experienced was a coughing fit. Even after coughing, I held out hope that my high was lurking somewhere, but still, nothing. Note, I wasn't hitting a medical strain. This got me confused, and I decided to discover what the hell had happened. It goes without saying that if your first time came with no buzz, you're not alone, and it's not the end of your cannabis smoking journey. As mentioned earlier, everyone has their own unique body chemistry. Sure, we all have the same primary chemicals in our bodies, but they're not all balanced the same way, nor do we react to ingested substances the same way. Here are the reasons why you may not have gotten stoned, and I have a few ways to remedy them. If you don't get it right on your subsequent trials, keep trying. So maybe you didn't smoke correctly. Not everyone can get the technique of smoking on their first attempt. It's not a natural behavior or a biological activity. You may not know how to pull it off. Smoking ideally takes practice, and it's a gradual process. That is why your early attempts, you'll notice, you might not even experience, or you may experience smoking fits. Here's a tip. When you're ready to try a joint or smoke from a glass piece again, ensure you take a deliberate deep breath to take the smoke or vapor in. This breath will push the THC-laden vape or smoke deep into your lungs. All right, maybe you used the wrong cannabis strain or product. As a first-time smoker, it's very easy to go with the wrong strain or product, especially when you've failed to do your research beforehand or bought your package outside a dispensary. As a novice cannabis user, it would make a big mistake to trust whatever a supplier is giving you outside of a dispensary. It's common for traditional market suppliers to give out unsuitable, old, or poorly grown cannabis to unsuspecting novice customers. Here's a tip. Well-versed bud tenders are available in legal cannabis dispensaries to clue you in on the right strain to use to complement whatever mood you might be in. Joints purchased from these stores are also labeled with the THC percentage, cannabinoids, and terpenes present, as well as their production and expiration dates. The best way to identify good weed is to check for the presence of trichomes, a strong aroma, and a healthy green color. Another reason you might not have gotten high is that your brain doesn't yet recognize cannabis. A standard theory about first-time cannabis users that fail to get high is that their brains have no idea what to do. The first time our body is introduced to a new compound, it goes through a sensitization period where it builds a reverse tolerance to the compound. The more you expose your body to that specific substance, the more receptive it becomes. Your brain needs time to recognize THC, and your body needs time to jack up the production of CB1 and CB2 receptors. So, you see, while your brain might be excited to receive that first dose of THC, it may not elicit the reactions you seek. Here's a tip. Continue hitting those blunts the right way, and you will notice in time that your brain will adapt. Think of your new blunts as a new instrument that your brain needs time to master. And maybe you were high, but it was unknowingly. It's possible that you had felt something without even realizing.
I get unknowingly high all the
yeah.
time.
Yeah. Well, no, sometimes you're like, am I high? Oh, yeah, I am high. Am I? I
You've
don't know.
done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never done that.
Especially if you take like a microdose and you might like hit like a little wave of feeling funny for a few minutes.
Right.
And you're like, oh, yeah. And then you go back to doing your normal thing. Right.
Yep.
Most first-time smokers tend to chase after an experience without really knowing what they're chasing for. And that's a huge thing. You don't really, if you haven't smoked, you don't really know what it feels like. So you don't know what you're waiting for to happen.
Right.
So if it's a subtle high, you might not even realize that you're high.
Right.
So when it hits you in the face, because, most first-time smokers tend to chase after an experience without really knowing what they're chasing. So when it hits them in the face, they don't even recognize it.
Put a cookie on a string and pull it. They'll start chasing that.
You probably got stoned subtly, making you more relaxed, warm, and upbeat. But you had been expecting the buzzy creativity or giggles that most first-timers speak of. Here's a tip. It is unnecessary to experience something significant on your first try. If you even felt anything at all, you could up your dose the next time or smoke more. It could be that you have a heightened tolerance or your brain was still learning the ropes of THC. Bottom line, bad products, inability to smoke correctly, subtle highs, or lack of reactions from the brain are significant reasons why a first-time smoker may be unable to get high. The simplest solution is continue trying. When you keep trying, your brain gets used to the cannabinoids, and in no time, you'll be well on your way to the highest paradise. Even if it takes time, keep trying. You'll get to that peak one day. Remember, there's no right or wrong way to go about your first attempt. I'm different, you're different. Relax, keep trying, you'll be high, and you'll be fine.
Hell yeah. Love it. Good article. The House Rules Committee blocked the floor consideration of amendments to increase military veterans' medical cannabis access. They suck. Separate proposals to protect people from being evicted from public housing over cannabis were also withdrawn. You don't put these kind of bills and try to sneak it in or put it into a military bill or some kind of bill that's doing. You got to come forward and come clean and bring a bill to the table that's going to work for everybody. This is the thing that keeps on pissing me off. You guys all suck. Just terrible, man. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz helped to cut a ribbon to help new hemp processing facility. A Democratic gubernatorial candidate, Beto O'Rourke, a former congressman, tweeted, "We are going to legalize cannabis in Texas while generating nearly $1 billion a year in new revenue and savings." Good for you. North Dakota activists officially turned in signatures for cannabis legalization ballot. Good for you. Pennsylvania governor signs bill cannabis banking and insurance reform into bill. Good for you. Michigan June cannabis sales increased 26% from a year ago. Man, they're just cranking. I mean, just, oh my gosh. Medical was 21 million and recreational was 165 million. Poof. New York firefighters won't be tested for cannabis, department says, following an NYPD link. Now, they were saying that NYPD was not going to get tested either, whether at home, as long as they're not using it while at work, but they can be tested at any time throughout the day or while they're working. So we'll see how this plays out. I'm sure somebody's fighting it somewhere. Safe banking cannabis bill included in U.S. House defense bill. Like I said, this was more. You're adding it to a defense bill instead of just coming clean and trying to sneak it in. And it was a vote was last Thursday. It's unclear if it's not. It shouldn't even be unclear. The Senate's not going to pass it no matter what because they got their own bill they want to pass. Once again, nobody coming together, nobody coming across the table, no one coming to the cannabis community and talking to us and what we want to see happen. It's just all about you and who's going to do it. So that's why it'll never pass in the government until we get rid of them all. Biden says he's finally working on fulfilling cannabis campaign pledge to free prisoners. I'll believe it when I see it. I will believe it when I see it because it should have been done in the first 100 days. Cannabis lounges. We just got denied to try to open one. We got denied again. But what can cannabis lounges mean?
Yep. What cannabis lounges could mean for the future of weed consumption? Well, it's likely that many more laws will be implemented before cannabis lounges take off in major ways in the states. There is something special about a lounge experience, an intentionally designed atmosphere for strangers to meet in order to enjoy ambiance and interaction is something most of us took for granted before quarantine hit. The world is back open, and so are your favorite bars and cafes. In fact, there might even be a cannabis-infused meeting place coming to a community near you. As we previously reported, the Nevada Cannabis Compliance Board recently approved a measure that will allow cannabis consumption in lounges. While Alaska was the first state to approve cannabis lounges, Nevada, and specifically Las Vegas, along with some California cities, seem to have big and immediate plans for this new frontier. It's almost as if cannabis entrepreneurs are looking to take the buzz and nostalgia of Amsterdam's weed cafes and explode them into modern American times. This effort may prove to be a huge new growth market and even a shift in how Americans view and consume their weed. While this is all exciting news, there are a lot of unanswered questions about how to run and regulate a cannabis consumption lounge. If this is the future of weed, how will states safely take the concept to the mainstream? Cannabis lounges are a relatively new idea in the U.S. in the scheme of things. For context, Colorado legalized cannabis in 2012, and Alaska legalized consumption lounges in 2019. As more states legalize cannabis and are hungry for a piece of this new enterprise after lockdown, there are growing numbers of interest in cannabis lounges. The politics of pot lounges are changing along with shifting social mores around the substance, wrote Politico, who interviewed Larry Scheffler, the co-CEO of a proposed cannabis lounge in Las Vegas. And this isn't the boutique corner cafe you might think of when you're thinking of a weed lounge, unless you are picturing a space fit with a giant 5-inch deep splashing pool. Take off your shoes. You dance in the water. You can consume cannabis, and there's 100,000 rooms looking down at you from the Vegas towers, Scheffler said. This, my friends, is not Central Perk, but an altogether otherworldly cannabis experience. It all sounds fascinating, but how on earth can you regulate such a venture? Take California, for example. Several jurisdictions within California have begun legalizing forms of cannabis consumption lounges. But as more and more of these establishments pop up, just as many questions arise. California law restricts indoor smoking, which could preclude customers from puffing on a joint in a lounge, Brad Rowe told the New York Times recently. And there are regulations intended to protect employees from working in smoke-filled environments, Rowe said. These are not the only questions people are asking either. In a recent article about consumption lounges, the National Cannabis Industry Association asked, could public consumption spaces cause people to overconsume? Will there be limits on how much cannabis a person is allowed to consume at a lounge in one visit? What is a single serving of cannabis anyway? These are all valid and mostly unanswered questions. Still, according to the same article, this has not stopped 7 states from forging plans for legalizing consumption lounges. Currently, Alaska is the only state with any real history in the department. Its laws, according to the Marijuana Policy Project, allow you to purchase and consume up to 1 gram of cannabis or an edible of up to 10 milligrams of THC. Alcohol and tobacco sale and consumption is prohibited. There are also strict regulations about staff and even strict ventilation regulations. These are all understandable laws, and it's likely these and many others will be implemented before cannabis lounges take off in the major way in other states. Still, even though you might not be able to have a happy hour at these new consumption lounges, there are likely to be lots of smiling faces in the lounges and cafes across the nation once these establishments open their doors.
That's dope.
And that was just the rebuttal. We met with a mayor to see if we could get an allowance or, a permit to open this type of business. And it was a pretty productive meeting.
Yeah, it was
but all in all, all of these questions came up, how do you do this? How do you monitor?
She was kind of about it, but it was the board of trustees and everybody else that didn't want it.
Yeah, and just because there's so many unanswered questions.
But they didn't even give us a chance to talk to them. Kind of sucks. So anyway, hopefully we can get our lounge one day.
It's not a forever no. It's just for now no.
For now, no. Right. So International news, top government officials from Germany, Luxembourg, Malta, and the Netherlands discussed cannabis legalization plans at a joint meeting. Whoa, that's some big weed countries going on right there. The UK's Home Secretary proposed revisions to drug policy and would effectively decriminalize initial possession offenses, but also added punitive measures like the revocation of passports in some instances. Belize's Prime Minister spoke about the cost of holding a cannabis legalization referendum. Canadian officials suspended a clinical trial on MDMA-assisted psychotherapy due to concerns for participant safety. Mexican officials captured a former drug cartel leader who allegedly was behind the 1985 murder of the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration special agent. Yeah, that was a big article. Crazy. Here's something cool. Survey. Australians find cannabis use more acceptable than tobacco use. Our boy Tez down there. For the first time in Australia, cannabis use has garnered more support than tobacco use, as reported by a recent National Drug Strategy Household Survey by the Australian Institute of Health. A recent survey by the Australian Institute of Health found for the first time that cannabis use is more acceptable than tobacco use. That's awesome. The survey found that 20% of the respondents supported regular cannabis use compared to 15% who supported regular tobacco use. Pretty good. Australia, man, legalize that for our friends down there. The heat of summer is upon us here in Illinois right now. We've had great dry. It's been hot, but dry. It's been wonderful until it rained, torrential downpour a couple days ago, and now the humidity's here, and it's like 90 and humid.
No, it's a heat wave across the country.
Right
now.
Yeah, but Illinois is getting blasted with humidity now. So, how does the summer heat affect a cannabis high?
Yeah,
different than an alcohol high.
You got to protect your bud. You got to protect your bud. Well, how does the summer heat affect your cannabis high? So don't just protect your bud, but protect yourself, right? Does the hot summer weather help or hurt your ability to get high on weed? Let's discuss the effect of summer heat on your cannabis high. The warm outdoor temperatures this summer are an invitation to get high and enjoy all your favorite hot weather activities. But let's be real. Weed is damn good any time of year, even during the winter. But did you know that blazing hot temperatures have an impact on your cannabis high in more ways than one? Summer heat is notorious for weakening weed and degrading it, but it's also interesting to note that when you consume during this time of year, it can help you stay cool. Oh, I need this. Weed has a cooling ability. Several studies have shown that weed can cool the body's temperature, which comes in handy especially during heat waves this summer. Researchers discovered that THC interacts with vanilloid receptors. According to Emma Chasen, co-founder of the Eminent Consulting and a cannabis educator, cannabis can alter your body temperature as many compounds act as homeostatic agents, helping the body to achieve balance. Cannabinoids can engage with the endocannabinoid system in the hypothalamus and influence temperature regulation, while also engaging with the vanilloid receptor family, Chasen tells MedMen. The vanilloid receptors modulate our sensation of heat and pain, and therefore, when engaged by cannabinoids, may help to numb our sensation of feeling hot, she says. She does warn that while cannabis can help your body cool down, don't rely on cannabis solely. When using cannabis in the summer, it's still important to recognize that it may not prevent you from overheating, she explains. You still need to drink plenty of water and take breaks from the hot sun.
Cannabis will help you drink plenty of water.
Yeah, right? Other research points to one's ability to increase tolerance of THC's cooling effects in the body based on animal studies. This can explain why some of us shiver when we're high, wanting to do nothing more than crawl under a blanket and snuggle up to relax. In order to benefit from the cooling properties of cannabis, it's best to consume through products that are known to have quicker onset. This means that summer may not be the best time to partake in edibles. Instead, try cannabis beverages and cocktails. The hot heat is the perfect time to experiment and indulge in these delicious craft beverages, provided that they are made with nano-emulsion technology, ensuring that you feel the effects much faster, often within just a few minutes. These will help you stay hydrated and cool in no time. You may also want to take sublingual tinctures, vapes, or even cannabis concentrates for the seasoned cannabis enthusiasts. They will help you activate the cooling response much faster. High-quality cannabis vapes don't come cheap, so be sure they're always stored properly. This is especially crucial in the summer because when vape devices are exposed to extreme temperatures, it can cause leaks, cracks, malfunctioning, and even weakening of the cannabis oil. Even a mild change in temperature can risk the glass cartridge shattering or breaking. Always keep your vapes in a cool room and a well-ventilated place, ideally above 70 degrees Fahrenheit or about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Keeping edible products in your kitchen or pantry may be a good idea the rest of the year, but you might have to rethink during your heat wave days. Edible chocolates and candies can be prone to melting, and high heat can make the THC effect almost useless. Edibles should always be kept in a cool, dark place in an airtight container. Exposure to sunlight can damage its overall quality and potency. If you've purchased edibles in bulk, you may want to consider freezing some of them that you won't be consuming soon. It'll help extend their shelf life without affecting potency and flavor. However, when it's time to consume, be sure you defrost them. Simply storing your weed in Ziploc and plastic bags the rest of the year may be fine too, but during the hot summer months, you have to shift up your storage strategy. Sunlight and heat are among the biggest enemies of the bud, so it's worth looking into buying an airtight glass container. Come over to 8 Decades.
Yeah, come check out our website. We got great jars that protect your bud.
Remember that airtight plastics can cause buds to sweat, so glass is always recommended, especially for long-term storage. Specially made products for cannabis, such as airtight glass jars that block out ultraviolet rays,
ours
do, are great if you have the budget to do so, particularly if your home has several windows. If you have a big bulk of bud this summer, you may want to also consider humidity packs. These are already available in different humidity levels, ensuring that the quality of your bud stays fresh beyond summer. These rules also apply to CBD products. Just like THC, CBD is prone to degradation in the summer heat. Keep your CBD oils in a cool place. They are not only not cheap, but you want to make sure you properly store your investment and keep it protected from the effects of the hot sun. So take care of your goodies.
We do.
Yeah.
Most we do.
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg is trolling President Biden with his new Sleepy Joe strain. At this point, I'm starting to feel bad for President Biden. It has become painfully obvious that Biden is having trouble keeping up with the rest of the world. All over the world, people are acknowledging that the leader of the free world's gaffes aren't gaffes, and mostly a little bit of maybe early Alzheimer's is what he's saying. The fact that the Democrats are trying desperately to convince the world that he isn't so, only making things worse. Since he's inaugurated as president, his approval has tanked and lowest in history. This has obviously sparked some ridicule from the people. For example, I'm not going to talk about that, but basically, you know, people are pissed about him being on the trail talking about freeing cannabis prisoners and legalizing cannabis, and Snoop's pretty pissed about it. So Sleepy Joe got some real traction lately as Snoop revealed a premium cannabis strain called Sleepy Joe OG, which contains a picture of the president with a confused look on his face with the bright red letters saying, "Where am I?" On the top of the package, you'll see the flags of China, Ukraine, and Russia flag and red background that reads, "You won't ever remember what country you're in." According to a daily article, some of the community comment included. People had fun with some of the posts. Snoop had fun with it. People were saying, "Snoop hooked me up with that. Sounds great." So the settings of this is just supposed to be fun. So Snoop's just having some fun. So I don't know if I'll ever try it, but the packaging is kind of funny. So Snoop, good job on that. It's pretty funny. So Mrs. Weedman,
Mr. Weedman,
you got anything else to say?
I think we're good.
No? Well, everybody, I just want to say I want to thank Zenko for sending us that awesome vaporizer, the Gizmo. We love it. We support small business owners because we are small business owners. So we supported this great couple, Wendy and Paul and Franco. And we want to thank them again for the great gift they sent us. And to all you out there, they for this next month, they gave a code for $25 off, Weedman 420. So if you're interested in buying one, it's Weedman 420, get $25 off. So pretty cool. Yeah. And like I said, any small business owner out there that wants to contact us through email, or DM us on our social media. We would love to try your product out on the show. And if we like it, we'll reach out to you and have you on the show. We're small business owners just like you. And I know everyone out there how you started a business and how much time, energy, and of course the dollar takes to do this. So we would love to help out small business owners out there, whether it be a cannabis product, a cannabis paraphernalia, cannabis whatever, cartridge, a new device. We'll give you the honest opinion about it, and we'll tell our listeners around the world about it. So all right, and that was a good one though. Good one. Good show we did with them. Good show we did with us. Miss Weedman, I love you.
Oh, did you smoke again?
I smoked 3 times, and I'm not really that high.
Yeah.
I'm high, but I'm not like, for as much as I burned, I should be like really high.
I feel the same way. But I think that's a little bit of the difference between traditional market and medical.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is, I mean, this was a home grow.
Right.
So, I mean, it was good. It's solid. It's good weed,
good.
you know.
I'm going to smoke some more.
Me too. I'm going to smoke the rest of that bowl with you after the show. Hey, everybody out there in the world. We love you. Check out 8decades.com for all of the stuff out there, all of our handles, all of our goods. Check us out, 8decades.com. We love you all out there in the world. Thank you so much. Peace be with you all. As Paulie always says, smoke smart. Puff, puffing away.
Puff, puff, pass.